Hi teachers, happy Tuesday. So today I've been working on lots of fun stuff for the VMT library. We've got some cards here, we've got some finger footsteps, these guys here. I'm putting all these together today, and I just thought I would take a quick break to talk to you about something completely different but kind of related to that. Transfer students. So I wrote about this on the blog on Sunday. And I know it's an area that teachers have a lot of trouble with, that maybe causes a lot of teacher frustration. So I wanted to hop on here quickly and talk to you about why I actually love taking transfer students and how I think you can too. So the thing about transfer students, of course, is that we don't actually know what they don't know. So if you have a huge frustration that always happens with transfer students, please do write it in the chat because I'd love to see what it is. For me, it was always that they came to me and they usually came from an exam system, right? Because I'm in Ireland and we use a lot of exams here for good and for evil. So they would usually come to me from an exam system. And the problem there was that they hadn't played enough repertoire, plain and simple, okay? They just had played so few pieces because of doing these exams, which take a long time, and you have to do these pieces, polish them to perfection over months and months and months, that they wouldn't have actually played enough stuff. And so their reading would be quite weak, or various other problems that come along with that. And they almost certainly wouldn't have done any kind of creative activities. So if there's something that students always come to you not having done, that you're like, oh, I wish you'd done this from the start, then please write it in the chat, in the comments, because I'd love to hear what it is in your part of the world. With me, it's usually that they haven't done enough repertoire. And I would get so annoyed at this. I mean, I wouldn't get annoyed at the student, but I feel frustrated. And then at some stage, I kind of turned this around because I started saying to myself, okay, but you have an opportunity to open up all this stuff to them. And when I started looking at it that way, it made all the difference in the world, because the look of joy on a student's face when they first get to improvise after having played for years, or they first get to play a duet even, with their teacher, which maybe they haven't done since the very first lessons, it makes such a difference. It's huge, and it just makes teaching such a joy. So this is how I approach the first lesson with a transfer student now, and I hope some of these tips will help you out, and you can read more about this in the blog post, so do read that. So when it comes to transfer students, they come in for the very first lesson. You have no idea what you're going to get, right? It could be anything. So the thing to do first is I always ask them to bring along something comfy, something comfortable, something they'll be happy to play for me. This could be anything. It could be a piece that they played for a recital or an exam or anything else. But I ask them to bring along something that's comfortable that they'll be happy to play for me. Now often, even in that case, they'll get so nervous that they can barely play it for me, but at least that way it gives them a shot of warming up well and playing something they're happy with, and I get to see what they've been working on and maybe what they enjoy. Before they start playing, I always explain to them, this is not about testing you or anything. It's about me learning what your playing style is and what kind of music you enjoy. And then I try to remember to roll my chair back. So I have a rolly swivelly chair. I roll that back, try to get out of their eye line. I think that's kind of important because it just gives them that little bit of extra space to play for the stranger that they've never met before, who's this terrifying adult. And depending on what their previous teacher was like, they might have, an experience of piano lessons being quite strict. They may not, they may. So I want to get out of their eye line and let them play. Once they've played their piece, we have to do some sight reading. Maybe some of you leave this out of the first lesson, and let me know if you do that, why you do that. But I include sight reading in that very first lesson with a transfer student because I just simply have to see what their reading is really like. It doesn't tell me anything about their reading if they're playing something comfortable. That's more just about getting them in the zone, really, and getting some idea of their playing and maybe their technique. But it doesn't tell me anything about their reading, really, because they could have learned it by rote, they could have learned it over a year, I don't know. So the most important thing then is to get them to sight read. And again, I try to chat with them a little bit and make sure they know that this is not a test. I just have to find out where they are. So I start out as simple as I possibly can. Like, I've been known with a student who's apparently grade 2 to start in a primer level book in Jennifer Eklund's Piano Pronto Prelude, like at the end of it, just to make sure that the first thing that they can sort of play it and get through it, hopefully. And then we'll progress from there until I hit a point where they're really finding it quite tricky to play it at sight, so that I know where we are. Now, if a student is getting a bit upset, which does happen, transfer students can be very nervous. Hi, Sharon! Great to see you here. Transfer students can be very nervous. And yeah, I've had some particularly nervous ones start this year, and I don't want them to get upset. So I'll do 1 or 2 pieces of sight reading, and then if they're getting upset with it, I'll stop. Otherwise, I'll keep going until we reach that level where it's kind of at an impasse. They're going to get annoyed if I continue letting them to keep going. So I'll stop there. So after the sight reading, then it's time to talk about the goals. And I'd love to hear as well if you talk about the goals with your transfer students. I think this is the most essential part of the lesson. Yeah, I need to see their reading. I need to see a bit about their technique to make a plan. The most important thing to make a plan is to know what they want, right? Because if I don't know what they want or what their parents want if they're very young, then where am I going to go? How am I going to make a plan at all? And I want to have a plan, or have enough information to make a plan after that first day. So if I get this transfer student in, we've done something comfortable, we've done some sight reading, then we'll have this goals chat and I'll find out what they're about. Now, if they're very shy, they might not be willing to tell me initially what kind of music they like or are into or want to play or anything. But I do my best, and I often give them some samples of music, like, oh, do you like this one? Did you like that one? Or from the stuff that they brought with them. Was that your favorite? Did you enjoy that one the most? Just so I get an idea of where they're at. Some students, of course, will tell you immediately, I want to do grade 5, or I don't want to do exams anymore. Mum wants me to do them, but I don't. Okay, that's a possible conflict, but we'll deal with it. I'll find a way to get through it. So it's good to know this stuff up front. So make sure you have that chat about your transfer students' goals. And the last essential thing, we've got 4 essential things for this first lesson with a transfer student. The last one is to have a quick win. This is so important because they need to be able to go home and practice something, and I don't want it to be like their previous practice. Yeah, they'll be getting to that serious kind of practice later, but for now, I think it's really good if we can give them a quick win that maybe they haven't had in that style before and send them home with something fun, just something to jam with. So for some students, this might be a little improv pattern, or it could be a quick pop riff that would often go across really well, like, you know, Skyfall by Adele or some Beatles or something like that. Tim Topham has a great list of those, so download the top 10 pop songs. That'd be a great place to start. Some rote songs, I'd love to do some Piano Safari rote pieces because they often won't have done anything like that before. Those really patterned, super impressive sounding pieces that they can remember, and often they're shocked they can remember because they've never played from memory before. So that's really fun. I want to send them home basically with something they definitely will be able to practice, they don't need a book for, and something where they're going to run in the door and go straight to the piano and play it. That's my aim anyway. That's what I want them to do. Go straight in, go straight to the piano and want to play that straight away. Because I think that'll really wow their parents. Mom sees them running straight to the piano. That might not have happened before. And most of all, they get to put their enthusiasm into action and become part of the studio that way. So let me run through those 4 tips again. And you can leave comments with any questions you have about how I deal with transfer students, because I really do love taking them on. Number 1 was we play something comfortable, something they know how to play that they brought along with them. Number 2, we do some sight reading because I have to see how they're reading, and I make it as friendly as I possibly can. Make it not about a test of their reading, but just about finding out where we are. Number 3 is we do a goals chat. We have to find out what it is that they want from lessons and what their interests are and what they're into. And number 4 is I want to send them home with a quick win, something they can run through their house straight to the piano and play when they get home and sound really cool. Whatever cool is to them, that's how I want it to sound. As we move forward with transfer students, a really great thing to have on hand is tons of games. And I actually have a comment from one of my VMT members that this has helped her so much, Rebecca in the UK, because she's got a ton of transfer students coming in and actually they don't know stuff that they think they know. And she's been using games from Vibrant Music Teaching to reinforce those concepts without it feeling like a chore or like they're going backwards. So let me preview some of the games that are coming up in the library. And if you remember, you'll get these on the 1st of November, so not long to wait now. And if you're not a member yet, you'll get these if you jump in right now. Sorry, you'll get these on the 1st if you jump in now, but the price is going up, so jump in as soon as you can. First one is Finger Footsteps. And this is a key example of something the transfer student might not know that they think is way, that they're way beyond it, right? Because it's about steps and skips. So there's little cards like this, and I've varied the type of notes, so those are minims right there, right? The reason I varied the type of notes is some students don't see it when it's not a semi-reeve because they start looking at the stems and they get all confused. So if they don't know about steps and skips and they're not reading directionally, you've got a mess on your hands, so you need to go back and fix it without them noticing. So that's just one example of a game that I think would be great with a transfer student who maybe has missed a step, excuse the pun. And there are tons more like that inside the Vibrant Music Teaching Library. So if you want to check that out, go to vibrantmusicteaching.com/membership. And if you enjoyed today's Tuesday teaching chat, please do subscribe to get notifications when Colourful Keys goes live. So you go to the Colourful Keys page and you hit the subscribe button or the follow button there. And you should get a notification when I go live. That's every Tuesday at 4:45 here in Dublin, which is, should have known this first, I think it's 11:45 New York. I have to look that up and make sure I know what it is. 11:45 I think in New York, but you can tell me if I'm wrong, and all the other time zones across the world. So I hope you enjoyed this chat about transfer students. If you have any questions about why I love transfer students and how I love transfer students and how I work with them, please do leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Happy Tuesday!